Hey guys, welcome to my philosophy video, where I'm going to be talking about philosophy and other things. Yay! Buckle up, because this is definitely going to be an interesting one, so get ready. The question I want to start with is, what is reality? Now, the way that we started in class is we talked about the God question, which is just like, is there a God? We don't know. But I grew up Catholic, so I grew up with a standing of, oh yeah, there is a God, and he's out there and he created everything, and like Adam and Eve, blah, blah, blah. But my standing right now is, I don't know. So I guess I'm kind of agnostic, but I really just don't know. I believe that there's something out there, but I don't know if we can really prove it, which is agnosticism. And also, if a all-loving, all-knowing, and all-good God exists out there, then why is there so much evil in the world? That's a question that I am really fascinated by. Then, if we go into the mind-body problem, that basically says, like, hey, your mind, your body, are they separated? Are they, like, working together? Is one more prominent than the other? Is one just taking full control? The thing that fascinated me the most was definitely the idea of a soul, which was brought up first by Plato, which basically says the universe made our souls, we were put into a body, and dying reunites our souls with the universe. And I think that's pretty beautiful. But also, I know that our bodies are like there, and they're very, very much connected to our minds. That's how I believe things to be. So the idea of dualism is kind of where I fit most. Also, I don't hate the idea of idealism then, because it focuses on the mind, and I do think the mind that is a very prominent and very important part of what controls what our reality is, but it doesn't focus a lot on the body, and I think the body and the mind kind of work together. So basically dualism. Additionally, if we're talking about free will versus determinism, I'm definitely more on free will, because I could be standing in my basement and then the next minute I could be like, oh, I can do anything in my basement, or oh, I'm boxing, and then oh, no, I'm not boxing anymore. But rolling back to the main idea of what is reality, I have absolutely zero idea, because my perception of reality now is way different than my perception of reality when I was a baby, or when I was, 5 or 11 or 14 even, and now I'm 18, and that's only a 4-year difference, but I think way different of the world around us than I did when I was 14. But as any good philosopher would ask, back as a refute to everything I say is, well, how do you know? How do you know reality is even, like, what you think it is? And that brings us to our next question, which is, how do we know anything ever? For any reason at all. The question is really rooted in knowledge. Like, what do you know? Like, how do you know? Questions like that come up when we talk about this big question. The idea of knowledge is focused on true, justified belief, which is kind of the baseline of the question and how we criticize other people's, ways of knowing. When first thinking about this question, I think of when I was a kid and I was really curious, and I would ask why to everything. So my parents would be like, hey, we're gonna go home and get food. And I'd be like, why? And they'd have to be like, well, we have to go home because it's our home, and food because we need food to survive. And I'm like, why? And then they go on being like, because you need food to survive. And I'd be like, why though? Why? I always wanted to know why. In which thinking this way made me realize how philosophical we are as children and as we grow up with just curiosity itself. We asked big questions all the time that we thought were way smaller than they actually were, but we really just wanted to know the why. And questions with why or how are very closely related, but with this question I think to myself, well, how do I know that my perception of reality is real? How do I know that the sky is blue? How do I know that I'll wake up in the morning? Or how do I know that my feet will support me when I stand up and put all my body weight on them? With some of these questions, you can answer them with a scientific example, and with some of them, you kind of just say, well, I don't know. But with the idea of empiricism, we know that we have knowledge from our own experiences. So if we go back to the question of, oh, how do I know my alarm will go off in the morning? Well, I've set my alarm before, and it's gone off at that time, so why wouldn't it go off this morning? I also wanted to add Immanuel Kant's introduction of analyzing motives into the mix, because a little example of mine is I danced as a kid for a few years of my life, but I didn't exactly like it. And so my motive to keep doing dance wasn't, oh, I love dance, so I'm going to keep dancing. It was, I'm going to keep dancing because my mom wants me to do it, and I'd like to impress my mom, and I also want to impress the other girls in my class because I had really high standards for myself. But moving on from that question, we have the question of, how should I even live my life? I can go on and do the things that I love doing and that I'd like to do on a daily basis, but how do I go about my daily decisions and the choices that I make? It's a really big question to chew on. When you're on the topic of ethics and morals, and people bring up the idea of good deeds, I think they get mixed up with, hey, I'm gonna do a good deed because I think that I should, and I also like kind of want to make up for some other bad things that I've done, so I'm gonna do a good deed. Instead of doing good deeds because good deeds help other people and can really make a difference in not only how you carry yourself as a person, but also how the rest of that person's day will go. Which is why I really enjoyed learning about virtue ethics, and I really agree with just focusing less on just doing one good thing and being like, oh, well, I'm a great person, and focusing more on being the best person you can be through constant work and strive for building character and just trying to be good. I also see values in duty ethics and utilitarianism, because with duty ethics, I like the idea of, oh, it is my duty to help others, or it is my duty to do my best, but it doesn't really take account your emotions and how you are trying to build yourself up as you go on with life. And with utilitarianism, it's weighing the pros and cons, which I find myself doing quite often, but if you steal something from a store and get away with it, the pleasure is outweighing the pain. But it's illegal. But with utilitarianism, it's saying it's okay, which doesn't make much sense to me. So personally, I really like the idea of just striving to be the best person I can be and just working on my character and seeing how that can better the world itself. And on the topic of character, that can segue us right into our last question, which is, who am I? Now, if someone came up to me and said, hey, who are you? I'd most likely react with, I'm Lily, and also, why are you asking? But there's a really big difference from someone asking you who you are, and you asking you who you are, which causes a lot of self-reflection. You could break down your personality into a public and a private personality. I actually asked some people from class what they think my public personality is, and I got some really sweet responses, and I was told I was kind and caring and kind of a role model, and also that I am a calming presence to be around, and that really meant a lot to me. I am also someone who likes to joke around a lot and just be really playful and try to make people's days. But as shown in my private personality, I use my public one as kind of a security blanket to shield people from how hard I am on myself and how many expectations I put on myself to be the best person I want to be in this world. Though it wasn't always that way, because identities change, and we change as people, and our values change, and parts of us change, and it's just all very human, honestly. But if I were to try to answer the who am I question, I'd say, well, I'm Lily, but all the specifics are never permanent. Now, going back to all the other questions, I want to say that the reason I love philosophy so much is that there never really is an answer, and it's always bringing up new ideas and bringing new perspectives in, and I think that's super beautiful. Thank you for watching, and I hope you got something out of this, because I sure got something out of this class, so thank you.